maybe have been open to her.
No, I understand. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
And the abuse continued.
I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason.
Attacking a woman for her looks or age isn't very progressive.
Whoopi Goldberg is making headlines again, but this time it's because of her comments on wokeness. However, she encountered someone who wasn't afraid to challenge her account. She didn't merely get resistance. When Karoline Leavitt, a new conservative voice, attacked Whoopi's comments and exposed the glaring inconsistencies and dishonesty of the wokeness viewpoints, what had started as a typical conversation quickly became something much more important. Not only did Leavitt support her own viewpoint, but she also forced Whoopi and the panel to acknowledge the flaws in their argument.
Karoline Leavitt. The left pretends to be a champion of women until they find one who is a conservative. Once that happens, they love nothing more than tearing down women with the most petty and vacuous of insults.
Let's look at what happened, why it's important, and how this conflict reflects a growing and more noticeable cultural divide. What had begun as a routine show swiftly turned into one of the most divisive debates in modern television history. In a debate concerning wokeness's role in modern politics, Whoopi Goldberg fiercely defended it, claiming that wokeness was the impetus for social progress and that those who opposed the movement for diversity, equity, and inclusion were only resisting a necessary social evolution. By pointing out the inconsistencies in the View's depiction of wokeness and the selective application of these so-called inclusive values, Karoline Leavitt stepped in and, rather than just disagreeing, undermined the basis of Whoopi's argument. Whoopi said that conservative critiques of wokeness were just fear-mongering, and that anybody who disagreed with the philosophy was simply fearful of change and unhappy with progress. Leavitt responded by pointing out that wokeness has become a means of suppressing opposing viewpoints rather than promoting social advancement. She argued that by imposing ideological conformity and penalizing anyone who dared to question its principles, wokeness was actually separating people rather than uniting them. Without wasting any time, Leavitt listed concrete examples of individuals who have faced severe criticism for challenging wokeness, especially in corporate America, the media, and educational institutions. She also criticized the View panel's duplicity, particularly Whoopi's suppression of conservative viewpoints despite her professed support for free speech. Leavitt pointed to the show's many instances of dismissing, interrupting, or outright insulting conservative women. She questioned whether the show truly encouraged a diversity of opinion or if it was only concerned with diversity that aligned with its own worldview. Leavitt went further, pointing out that wokeness was being used more as an excuse for exclusion and restriction than as a genuine movement for inclusivity. Whoopi defended her position by saying that wokeness is about diversity and giving everyone equal opportunity, despite her obvious irritation and efforts to remain composed. She stated that, in reality, wokeness is about redressing past wrongs and bringing justice to the system, but conservatives like Leavitt were distorting it as repressive. Leavitt refused to back down, responding by asking Whoopi why progressive women are instantly praised as role models, while conservative women are often subjected to derision and disdain, and why their credentials are constantly questioned. She emphasized how the selective use of wokeness has produced an unjust norm that elevates only some voices while forcing others to remain silent.
The View hosts have got themselves into hot water again after they did the very thing they purport to be against: undermining women's success. Joy Behar stunned viewers when she said Donald Trump's press secretary, 27-year-old Karoline Leavitt, only secured her position because of her good looks.
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
The comment was bizarre, especially coming from Joy Behar, who is as woke as they come and positions herself as a champion of feminism. This online commentator said, "Disgusting Joy Behar of The View accuses Karoline Leavitt of being hired only because Donald Trump thought she..."
At this point, the tension on set was clear. A wide range of political opinions were expressed, and many agreed that Whoopi's defense of wokeness had been successfully undermined. Even those who disagreed with Leavitt's conservative beliefs admitted that she had raised important issues about the contradictions in the message. Opponents of The View's perspective argued that the program has long served as a forum for promoting biased viewpoints and silencing opposing voices. Struggling to keep things under control, Whoopi attempted to change the subject from Leavitt's pointed comments, but it was too late. The damage was already done. This most recent interaction reinforced The View's reputation for suppressing dissent, rather than fostering honest dialogue. Whoopi and her co-hosts had attempted to dismiss Leavitt's concerns without providing a sufficient response, indicating their unwillingness to engage in a substantive conversation.
Let's talk about the fact that Democrats have been labeling President Trump a to democracy for the better half of 10 years. Let's talk about how they have compared him to one of the worst mass in the history of the world, and that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden weaponized the court system and the justice system in this country against Donald Trump in an attempt to imprison him. He sat through a courthouse for 7 weeks this past year, and the Democrats were hoping he would go to jail for it. That is real political that has led to 2 heinous attempts on President Trump's life that, by the grace of God, he was able to escape, and he is here with us today. So yes, President Trump knows a little bit about political because he's experienced it himself. And talking about the tragic realities of war that Liz Cheney and her father Dick Cheney have got this country into is not political. It's talking about the reality of the foreign conflicts that the Washington, D.C. establishment have sold out young Americans.
Whoopi was heavily criticized, with many calling for the program to reevaluate its interactions with guests who have opposing views. But this was about more than just one TV discussion. It was about a broader societal shift. Originally seen as a movement for positive change, wokeness has turned into something much more polarizing, discouraging open debate rather than encouraging meaningful discussion. It has created a hostile environment in which people are afraid to express their views for fear of being labeled intolerant or outdated. A growing number of Americans feel that the concept of progress has been reframed as a demand for ideological conformity, and the conversation with Whoopi highlighted this frustration. The backlash against Whoopi's stance was triggered by more than just her comments. It reflected a larger national conversation about free speech, inclusion, and what it truly means to be free. The struggle for ideological balance in the media is clearly only beginning, and this discussion is far from over as more voices continue to challenge the prevailing narratives. Do you believe Whoopi Goldberg had a point, or did Karoline Leavitt's appearance on The View effectively highlight the inconsistencies in the stance on wokeness? In addition to pointing out the shortcomings in Goldberg's justification of wokeness, Karoline Leavitt's appearance on The View spurred a broader discussion about the state of American political discourse. So, what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you don't want to miss out on the hottest celebrity news, make sure to subscribe to Daily Finder.